everybody, and welcome back to the best show on the internet, the one that you all love. That is Planet Film Live, episode 52.
52.
Episode 52. What you been up to? How's everything going here?
You want to introduce yourself?
Oh, my name is Sean Monk. I am one of your hosts.
And I'm brother host TJ Cornwell. What have I been up to? Well, me, Travis, and Brandon just started Gears 3 yesterday. You're welcome to hop in. We're still looking for a fourth person at any point. If you want to just hop in sometimes when we're playing, that's all good. You don't have to play the whole story if you don't want to. What else? I haven't watched that many like movies or anything. Like I told you before, I've kind of been on the Sopranos grind these past few days, trying to watch the whole show before that movie comes out in October.
Many Saints of Newark, right?
Yeah. What else? I don't really think that I watched that documentary, that Val Kilmer documentary.
Oh my god, I'm gonna watch that literally right after this. I watched
it was good.
Chris Stuckman's video this morning.
Yeah, it was good, and it was it made me really feel something. But I think I think it was him who said it, or maybe it was something else, where it's like it doesn't go as deep into like the movies he's worked on. Like it goes into Top Gun, like in depth. It goes into Top Gun, and Island of Dr. Moreau, because that one was so like hectic and everything.
Crazy,
and it was
right?
Yeah. But if I recall, it was like the only two movies. Like they kind of glance over Heat. They glance over and Batman, of course. Talk about Batman.
In depth or just like a little bit?
Yeah, he kind of talks about what a pain it was to like put the suit on and how, I've seen this clip from George Clooney on Graham Norton's show where they're like, you like literally can't do anything in this fucking suit. Like you're like just fucking in it, and you're like just standing there like, and we know from those old Batman movies they're like walking like this, like and everything's like like I'm gonna get you.
Yeah.
So yeah, he talks about that too. But it's narrated, which was in his writing, but his son does the voiceover, which I thought was really cool. But yeah, I liked it. I just wish it kind of went in more into depth on some of the other movies like Heat. Like I would have loved some more Heat stuff. But overall, it was a good documentary.
Nice.
What else did I do? I'm trying to think if something happened to me where I was like, this is fucking ridiculous. Did I do anything over the weekend? I don't think so. I don't think I did anything. I haven't really been up to much this past week.
Slow
week. What about you?
I've been up to, whatever. I've been working a lot. Tonight is my first night off since pretty much last week's show, because I got called into work on the one night that I was supposed to be off.
Right.
Which was, really fun. So yeah, just been on the work grind. Oh yeah, I got official glasses, real life glasses.
Oh, I saw, yeah.
That was
I see.
So do I.
Yeah.
I was like, my whole life I was told like I had like 20/20 vision. But then like recently, stuff like little stuff like I'm laying in bed and I can't quite read like the TV or something like that, or like stuff like that. Or like I'm driving and I can't really read that something as good, or distance stuff. And man, so it prompted me to go to the eye doctor, and I did.
As you do, yep.
Oh my god, I was like, they were like, read the bottom line. I think I talked about this last week. But I didn't have the glasses yet, but they were like, read the bottom line, and I was like, I can't read it. I was like, I couldn't believe it. But now that I have them, I mean, it's like every time I drive, it's like, I was talking to my boss actually, the other day, and I was like, it's like every tree has individual leaves now, and
Yeah,
he was
that's
like,
yep.
yeah, and I was like, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
It's quite an eye-opening experience, isn't it?
Yeah,
Because the first time you put them on, you're like, "This is what it's supposed to
supposed to
look like?"
be. Yeah,
Yeah, that's literally what I thought when I first got glasses. I was like, "Oh, I didn't know it was supposed to be so high def."
yeah. I
So,
was like,
what you're supposed to be seeing in 1080p, but you're really seeing 720,
yeah, if not like 480.
if
Yeah.
worse.
Um, what's it called? So yeah, I did that, but then so like that was like crazy eye opening, like actually leaving the eye doctors with the
Hmm.
glasses on Friday, and like seeing the outside world and everything. But then like the other night, I was like, oh, I want to watch a movie, and I ended up watching Steve Jobs, which holds up
Twice it looked like.
really, huh?
Or is that? Oh no, you watched. Never mind.
Yeah, I was. Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
thinking of a different movie you watched
Yeah.
twice.
So, but yeah, Steve Jobs, I was just like, because I've been working so late, I threw it on at like 3 a.m. So I have not only my regular vision, but also tired vision too.
Right.
And
Oh, 3 a.m.
so I
Jeez.
pulled up Netflix to, because I knew that that was on Netflix, and I knew that was what I wanted to watch because I've been on an
Mhm.
Aaron Sorkin, Jeff Daniels kick after I
Right.
watched The Newsroom,
The newsroom.
and
Yep.
and Steve Jobs is another place where Jeff Daniels gives a great performance in that, and the movie's
Mhm.
written by Aaron Sorkin. So I was like, all right, let's watch that. But in browsing Netflix, because you always check to see what's on there, before you fire it up.
Oh yeah, of course.
Well, one of the movies in my list, because I love this movie and I talked about it in the past couple weeks, is Talladega Nights: Ballad of Ricky Bobby. I
I
could
was just
read
thinking about that movie. Yeah.
I could read Talladega Nights because it's in like it's like a big red box with white letters that says Talladega Nights. But then Ballad of
Mm.
Ricky Bobby is in like white text under it. Couldn't read it for my life, and I was like, and I wasn't wearing my glasses, and I was like, oh shit. I was like, let me see what happens when I put these on to look at my TV. I could read everything. I was like, I literally could not read. And then when I started Steve Jobs, so I don't know if anybody's seen Steve Jobs in a while, but the opening credits, the names are like super small, like
Mhm.
purposely like incredibly small. Because they look okay like on a humongous screen, but
Right.
on my TV like 20 feet away, it's a little bit of a struggle. I couldn't read them for shit. So when I put the glasses on, I could read it, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is crazy." So yeah, that's been pretty much the biggest development with me. Um, yeah. Other than that, we have a bunch of news to go over. We're gonna be talking some Suicide Squad spoilers towards the tail end of the show. Also, just giving our non-spoiler thoughts before that, so we'll probably close out with spoilers. We got a whole bunch of news and a brand new segment to the show, which is something that I am very passionate about that I have been trying to get done since we started this show. And first, it was impossible because of the pandemic. And then
Mhm.
I just kind of forgot about it and lost track of it. But now I'm doubling down. And that is, do you want to just do, yeah, we should just do this off the top and then jump into news, right?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. So that is the box office report. So let me go ahead and get this pulled up here for you. Now, TJ, have you looked at the box office at all? Do you know what order things
I've
came in?
not.
All right, what could you
I've
give me a
not.
guess? What do you think is going to be? What? Give me a quick guess of the top three.
Top three. I'm gonna say the Suicide Squad.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say. Trying to think what's out. The Suicide Squad. Paw Patrol's not out yet.
No.
I'm gonna say the Suicide Squad, Green Knight, and I'm gonna take a shot in the dark and say Snake Eyes.
Wrong. You named two movies that not only aren't in the top three, they're not even in the top five. So let's go ahead and pull up
Damn.
the
Okay.
top five. Boom! Look at that. Let me know how you guys think about that. So we have week in its first week in the box office, coming in at number one with 26.2 million, which we are definitely going to talk about that number in a little bit. It is The Suicide Squad coming to us from Warner Brothers Pictures. Number 2 in its second week at the box office, coming in at 15.8 million, is Disney's Jungle
The
Cruise.
water. Damn it. Oh, I
Yeah,
forgot about Jungle Cruise. I was like, what
yeah.
is there's some movie I'm not thinking of.
And
Ugh.
then, surprise to me when I looked up the numbers, in its third week, M. Night Shyamalan's Old from Universal,
Yeah.
hanging in there at 4.1 million. Just edging out Black Widow at number 4 in its fifth week of release, at 3.9 million. And then followed right up there with the Matt Damon drama coming to us from Focus Features, Stillwater, which is in its second week, fell down to 2.8. But that's actually a pretty good hold, because Stillwater actually premiered not much higher than that. It was
Yeah.
not, sometimes we see these movies that, don't open big,
Hmm.
but they kind of open low, but then they have a
Right.
low drop off as well. And those are the kind of movies that have the staying power to stay in the top 5 for longer. Um, and it's not pictured here, obviously, because it's the top 5, but just missing out on the top 5 is, at number 6 would be The Green Knight.
Hmm.
And that would be at just a little bit under Stillwater at 2.5. Then Space Jam actually would be number 7. And then Snake Eyes, then Escape Room, then
Damn,
F9.
Snake Eyes really that low.
Yeah, then
When?
F9
How many weeks
closing
ago
out.
did that come out? Because
Which one?
Old came out the same week. Snake Eyes.
Yeah, it came out 3 weeks ago. And
Oh, okay.
Old
So
is
it was more
currently
than
at
I thought.
4.1. And Snake Eyes is currently at 1.6. Oof.
Mm.
Yeah, Old has currently made not just more, a lot more money than Snake Eyes.
Wow.
Yeah, how about
I'm
that?
shocked, actually.
Yeah. So we have a total gross so far is 38 million for Old. Total
Hmm.
gross for Snake Eyes 26 million.
Wow.
So
Wow.
not even really close.
That's terrible.
Yeah, not even really a close number. Snake Eyes handily, uh, you know, Old handily has beaten Snake Eyes, which is very,
What's the budget
very
on that thing?
interesting.
26
Let's see.
million.
Budget on Snake Eyes?
Yeah.
That's a good question. I'm gonna guess like 50.
Oh, I thought it would be way higher than that. I
Let's
mean, no
see.
matter what the budget, obviously we're still in the pandemic and everything, but that's fucking terrible. That is awful. Um, let's talk. Why do you think this has been like a topic I feel like of discussion this past week? Why do you think the Suicide Squad did not do well?
Oh yeah, you were right. Budget reported to be between 90 to 110
Oh
million.
yeah, I was gonna say it's definitely up there. It's got
Yeah,
to be.
yeah. Whew.
Well, it was
That
a lot
is
of money.
rough. That is really, really rough. So yeah, I am no Dan Merle, but I'm gonna try and
Mhm.
get better at this every single week.
Yeah.
But that being said, after you're done watching this show, go check out Charts with Dan, where he breaks down everything, all the analytics, like everything with that. It's he's very scientific about it. It's a great watch every week.
Mhm.
Um, but that being said, yeah, like TJ said, let's break down some of the reasons why, um, Suicide Squad opened to, 26 million. That is rough.
That is bad.
Um, yeah, and really, it's a lot of different things. It's
Mhm.
not just COVID. It's not just
Right.
HBO Max. It's also, it's coming off of, a, I don't know if you call it, let's just say a successor or a predecessor, um, that really did not serve this movie well. And,
Mhm.
and I just mean that in the sense that, the both movies actually, surprisingly, both movies have the exact same cinema score, which for those watching
Yeah.
that don't know.
How does Suicide Squad have a B plus?
So cinema score is literally just
Is it just
regular people
yeah
told
coming
coming
out?
out of the theater. Yeah,
Yeah. Isn't it
and
based
so
on
that's
like,
it.
did you understand it? I thought that's what it was. Like, oh, can you tell me what happened? Is
No,
that
it's
what
based
it
on
is?
it's based on just
Oh,
like their overall expectations, and then if the
mm,
expectations were met. that kind of thing.
Gotcha.
And it's based on, it's supposed to gauge overall like actual enjoyment
Hmm.
of the film. So, like the first movie, if you take a look, um, the opening weekend of the first film grossed about 133 million. Now, if you take, if we do some math here, uh, it was an estimated about 2.8 million households watched The Suicide Squad on HBO Max in the opening weekend. So if you take
Hmm.
that and you say there's a national average of about 3 people per household, multiplied by the national average ticket price of $15, if you add all that together, this movie could have, and now obviously for the sake of this,
Hmm.
example, this scenario, that would be every single person that watched on HBO Max, would translate to a ticket holder, which isn't
Right.
necessarily what would happen, but just for the sake of this example, we'll say that this movie could have stood to make, upwards of $150 million with that
Yeah.
kind of thing, because that's and that's the trick, is that with the HBO Max deal, not only does it stab the theatrical release in the back, just like things like Black Widow and Jungle Cruise do, but what Warner Brothers did is there's not even an additional way for the movie to make money. It's just free
Hmm.
on the platform, which
Right.
is crazy, because they took out their only revenue stream, their only additional revenue stream. It's not even an option to make more money, which really severely hampered this. And I think it's one of those things that I have to say, I think regardless of how this film performs in the long run, and I think regardless of how well it's received, which so far, based on critics, we'll get into what we think a little bit later, but
Hmm.
with critics and everything, they seem to love this movie, and a lot of people seem to love this movie. I think regardless of that, unfortunately, I think this franchise is probably dead in terms of actual Suicide Squad movies. Um, I really think it's going to be a hard road back. The only life raft that this franchise could get is Discovery. So once Discovery fully takes over Warner Brothers in the next 18
Hmm.
months, out of the AT&T's control, I think that's the only thing that could show signs of hope for this franchise, is
Yeah.
if Discovery looks at it and says, that movie, people loved that movie. It was a great movie, but it was hamstrung and kind of stabbed in the back by the leadership at AT&T. And I think that's absolutely true. So that's probably the only hope that I see for it. But what do you think? If you had to guess, what contributing factors do you think impacted this box office the most? Because
Um.
it is unfortunate, but it is a at least right now, from a domestic standpoint, a failure at the box office.
Mhm. I really think it is the pandemic and the whole HBO Max release. Because like you said, like you take it off HBO Max, you force people to go to the theater to see it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only way they can see it. What I am surprised about thinking about this now, I don't know if this would make any sense, but like I would be like, okay, like you said, you take away, it only has the one stream of making money, which is putting it in the theaters.
Mm-hmm.
But why don't you just put it on PVOD and so you could trick a few people to just fucking buy it? That's what
Yeah,
I don't get. Why didn't they do
exactly.
that with any of the movies?
That's what I'm saying.
I get like it obviously like it keeps your subscribers obviously, and you're
Mm-hmm.
getting that money monthly. But there's a few people out there that maybe they don't want to get the service, so they'll just buy it, solo. Um,
Yeah.
Now I don't know how much that costs to, I'm assuming you have to pay whoever to put it on their service, or if something like that. Like there's a cost associated with that. So maybe it's just not worth it if you're assuming however many people have HBO Max. Let's assume how many people are gonna buy the PVOD for, let's just use Disney Plus's price of $30. How much does it cost, you know, to put it on the service? Maybe you just don't make that cost back up, so maybe it's just not worth it, I guess. Um, so that would be interesting. I'm surprised nobody really did, because I know Disney Plus, like, obviously you have to pay for the movie, but it's only on Disney Plus. Like you can't buy it on like Amazon Prime Video, or you can't buy it on Apple, whatever, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I was kind of surprised that maybe they didn't do that, but I think it is definitely the just again, like I said, the pandemic. You still have this Delta variant now that is kind of roaming around and is, still infecting a bunch of people, and you just have that you can stay home and watch it for free. Not free because you're still paying the subscription, but you can stay home,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't have to go out and spend however much ticket is.
Yeah. Now let me go over this with you. So this is information coming from Box Office Mojo. Out of the Warner Brothers, HBO Max direct home releases, theatrical and HBO Max releases, how many of them do you think were still profitable in the theater? And can you tell me which ones they were? If you just had
How
to
many of
guess.
the HBO Max releases, same day, date,
Yep.
were
So
profitable in theater?
we're looking at Judas and the Black Messiah, The Little Things,
Okay.
Conjuring 3, Tom and Jerry,
Not little
Mortal
things. That
Kombat,
movie sucked.
In the Heights, Space Jam 2, Godzilla vs Kong, Suicide Squad, Wonder Woman 84, and then Tenet just in there for
Thinking of what I assume the budgets of all of them would be, I'm gonna say the only one would be Conjuring 3.
that made profit.
Yeah,
Do you want me to tell you?
sure, because I'm probably wrong.
Well, you are right and you are wrong.
Okay.
Conjuring is one of them.
Okay. How many are there?
Based on its budget to profit, it is the most profitable. Conjuring 3. So you were right on that.
No surprise there.
There are only three out of the 10 or so that they've done so far, and that is Conjuring 3. Tom and Jerry was just barely profitable. It just barely
Oh my
made
God,
cash
Tom and
double.
Jerry.
Yeah.
Jesus. Oh yeah.
And you
Okay.
figure that's probably because that budget's pretty cheap. Not
Mhm.
as cheap as The Conjuring, but still cheap enough that it made profit. And
Right.
then the one true, I'm not going to say unaffected, but nearly unaffected Warner Brothers release that made a shit ton of money, almost like the COVID, HBO Max, everything wasn't even happening, but made this much money in the face of that. Godzilla vs Kong
Okay.
blew the
Yeah, I can
doors
see
off
that.
its budget, made a crap ton of money. I remember
Oh, I
the
feel like I
theater.
heard that.
I remember
Yeah.
the theater that I worked at. I know we kept that movie for a very long time, and it really just kept turning in profit
Yeah.
for them. And that is a movie that it didn't open to the craziest opening weekend numbers, so there
Mhm.
is still hope for the Suicide Squad. We only are looking at the first opening weekend, but it could go anywhere from here.
Yeah.
And that's the important thing to remember, is that really anything can happen at this point.
One thing I will say, like talking about this box office stuff, like I am so nervous that come October, like we're gonna be doing this show and you're gonna say, well, here's Dune. It made 10 million.
$10 million, yeah.
And what was the budget on that fucking thing? Like 150, 200 or some shit like that? It's gotta be up there.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, they shot on location and everything. And everybody that's in it. I don't know how much they all cost, but I'm so nervous for that because I feel like it's gonna have. I think it's gonna have the Blade Runner syndrome where it's a fucking amazing movie and it just doesn't make any money.
Mm-hmm.
And if you haven't been paying attention, this movie is only half the story. This is not going to be the full story. So there's supposed to be a sequel, and they're already doing a show too, like a show based off another book.
Mm-hmm.
So I pray to God that they're not like, oh well, people don't want this because it didn't make any money.
Yeah, I really hope that there's still hope for it. But I would say the faith is waning by the day, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, with box office out of the way, let us know what you thought about the box office talk there. Do you want to hit us up with some news?
Sure. All right. So I have probably, I think, like 3 stories I have locked and loaded. So the first one, if I can find it, I'm scrolling up because I scrolled past it. Reading these all off Discussing Films Twitter because they literally tweet every single thing you would need to know. So usually I just go there. Down here somewhere. There it is. Okay. So they got this from the post credit pod. So AC Bradley, who I'm gonna guess is like a writer or a showrunner, says what if idea they had to scrap was where Spider-Man turns into a real spider. And that was just too dark. And too body horror for the PG-13 rating. So I'm just gonna say I'm glad they scrapped that because that would be a what if episode I would not be watching.
Yeah. TJ said, "What if I unsubscribe from Disney Plus? Goodbye."
Yeah, exactly, literally.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
So I'm glad they didn't do that. We talked about last week how it was or they said what if is canon, which I again was kind of like what the fuck since when? But you said that they had been saying that, so I must have missed that. Any thoughts on that? Any thoughts on?
Yeah, I'm firmly with you. I think that would be very, very terrifying. If I'm being honest, I don't know how I would have felt about an episode like that. So I think on the whole, they probably made a very wise decision, I would say.
I have to guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for, some good, body horror type stuff, as long as it's done, in a responsible manner that's not just like gratuitous just to be gratuitous. But yeah, I mean, it sounds interesting, maybe like in a comic book, but not like, it's not live action, but not animated to where I can have like a nightmare about it being in motion. You know what I mean? Like
right.
That kind of thing.
Yeah, like it's animated, so I think I'd be like, okay. But if it was like live action, some shit, I'd be like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, not for me.
Yeah. Okay, my next thing. It's not really like a story, it's just kind of something that popped up. Margot Robbie has been cast in Wes Anderson's next movie. So they got that from the Hollywood Reporter. And then above it, they say Margot Robbie, Tom Hanks, Adrian Brody, which is a mainstay in Wes Anderson movies, as well as Bill Murray and Tilda Swinton, will all star in Wes Anderson's next film. Now, the reason I brought this up is because I think it's funny that Wes Anderson, like, he literally just picks and chooses people, right? Like, he literally just like, you, I want you guys, and that's it. Like, I feel like there's not a lot of auditioning. It's probably just like, he's like, oh, I'd like to work with so-and-so. And they're like, yeah, sure. Like,
pretty much.
He's got like heavy hitters in every single movie he's done. Now, obviously, I haven't seen every single movie, but, he's got Timothy Chalamet and French Dispatch, which even hasn't even come out yet. He's got Timothy Chalamet, he's got Saoirse Ronan, he's got Bill Murray, he's got Tilda Swinton, he's got Elizabeth Moss, he's got Adrian Brody, he's got Willem Dafoe. It's just a bevy of people. Are you excited for French Dispatch or no?
I am excited for French Dispatch. I would like to know a little more about it. I think it isn't it premiering. Oh no, it already premiered at a film festival.
Yeah, it already premiered in Venice.
I'd like
or Cannes, I think it is.
And like that excites me, but like that's a very insular thing. So like I'd like to see some critics that I trust, like maybe some more not local in sense of like where we live, but like in America, like that kind of thing. Like see how it plays with some sort of audience, and kind of see how that goes from there. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited for it. I just feel like I don't really know much about it other than, it's a wacky, zany Wes Anderson movie about, something with a newspaper type of thing. You know what I mean? Like, apart from that, I don't really think we know that much more at this time.
Okay, and lastly, that's the last thing I have. I don't know if you'll have anything after this, but some great news for you.
Uh-oh.
Idris Elba has announced that he will be playing or voicing Knuckles in the Sonic 2.
Wow.
What's your opinion on that one?
Look at that. I mean, we got this beautiful graphic up here for this. I just think this is one of the most um God, I don't even want to put this lightly. Just I think it's genuinely it's just one of the most impressive, inspired casting choices of all time. And I
Hmm.
think it's just as simple as that.
Knock
I
knock.
yes, I really think that this is going to be great. No, but all kidding aside, I mean, not that I am kidding, but um, I mean, this is awesome. Right? Like, I mean,
Mhm.
it's going to be like Knuckles is going to be, I already love the character of Knuckles, and he's just going to be so much more of a badass, after this. I
Mhm.
really just, think it's just a great, great fit. I think it's gonna be cool to see him. If the rumors are true, and he's working with Robotnik and stuff. Even if
Right.
it's a voice actor, then with the live action, like just the fact that like we'll get to hear Idris Elba bouncing off like Jim Carrey and that kind of stuff, and then also like with Ben Schwartz and seeing him interact, in person with like James Marsden and all that stuff. And I just think in general, I think the voice is a good fit for the character of Knuckles and for this universe. I just think that's so freaking cool. And also, I think even though obviously we talked about many weeks ago, months ago, if uh, that there was what's it called? There was set pictures released showing that Knuckles would be in this film.
Mhm.
But I think even on top of the casting, this is the first official confirmation that Knuckles is in it. Because before it was just going off of those, leaked set pictures, which, got me excited for it. But now, I like even though we just see, the hand with the knuckles and stuff. Um, I like the design. It looks like it's probably going to be very similar to the type of texture and
Mhm.
fur and stuff that Sonic is, because for all the joking aside, the original Sonic was terrible. Um and I genuinely think the Sonic that we got in the movie is one of the best, looking CG, video game type characters that we've gotten. They're not trying to go for the same type of CG as Thanos, where it's like
Right.
hyper
Oh yeah. No.
photorealistic,
Yeah.
but like in terms of a cute, furry type, CG character, I think they really hit the nail on the head. I think Sonic was like pleasing to look at, had just enough of a cartoony element mixed with realism. Whereas the other one was way too. I would not want to even see that version of Knuckles, um, or Tails or anybody. But yeah, I have faith in this because I mean that's no secret to this show. I really liked the first Sonic, and I really hope that this knocks it out of the park. No pun intended with the first
Yeah.
movie.
I'm hoping.
But yeah.
I'm hoping he has his accent. I know he can do an American accent.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. That would
Kind
be
of hoping he's
awesome.
English. Honestly, I think that'd be fucking hilarious.
Yeah, that would be so
I think
cool.
I think that'd be
Actually.
like a funny bit. Like maybe you're like Sonic or Tails is
Mm-hmm.
like, why are you talking like that? And
Yeah.
he's like, why am I talking like what? And
Yeah.
I
What am I
think
talking
that'd
like?
be kind
What?
of funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. All I
Oh
know
my
is
god, that
there
would be
better
so
be Shadow
cool.
better. There better be an end credit where Shadow comes in.
Oh,
He's got his machine gun from Shadow the Hedgehog,
you really like
and he
that one.
just like I've literally never played the game. I just remember the image on
It's
this one
ingrained in
Game
your
Informer.
brain.
I think it was on the cover of like a Game Informer that I had when I was a kid.
Really?
Um, yeah, but I was like 10, so I couldn't play the game. It was like rated teen.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is all the stories I have that I
Yeah. So I just have
wanted to talk about.
a couple more. Um. So one of the movies coming out of Marvel Studios that people have been anticipating and stuff, and coming up quickly on the
Mhm.
actual release schedule is the artist previously known as Captain Marvel 2, which is now called the Marvels, which is going to see all three of Kamala Khan, Monica Rambeau and Carol Danvers take the screen together as the Marvels. So that's from the comic books. That's going to be Ms. Marvel, Captain Marvel, and
Hmm.
Photon, or Quasar, whatever they end up calling Monica in this universe, whatever they give her as her superpower name. I would actually prefer Photon. I like that name. I think that's a really cool name, like for a superhero.
That's a cool
Um,
name, yeah.
so I hope they go with that. But yeah, but what the story is that we have official confirmation that Brie Larson has confirmed that she is on set for the latest Marvel film. Now, does this get you excited knowing that everything's back, kind of not full swing, but pretty full swing production over at Marvel? And what are your thoughts on this? Where's your kind of expectation level at this, and what are you kind of expecting out of this movie?
Um, I don't know. I don't know the only like I don't know much about any three of the characters. I don't only know about Kamala Khan because of the game, honestly, because she's like the main character in the game. Um, but I liked what I saw in WandaVision from Tiana Paris, right? That's her name.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
you do know about like Carol though too.
oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
You mean the
Um,
other two mainly?
right.
Okay, I was confused.
But yeah, I don't know. I am excited for that movie when it comes out. I'm assuming is it 2022 or 2023? Probably 20, right?
I think it's 20. Oh, that's a very good question. I would assume 2023. I would assume it's going to be that March or February movie in
Right.
2023.
Yeah.
Just like the
Um
first one was.
yeah. Maybe this movie because it's not
Oh,
just
2022.
oh wow.
Yeah.
Maybe
I mean,
this
it
movie
is like
will
18 months away.
yeah, get people to like Captain Marvel a little bit more. I don't know if people don't like Captain Marvel like the character because of Brie Larson or they just don't like you know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
don't
Oh yeah, of course.
I liked the movie when I saw it. I saw it
Mhm.
like 4 times, but that was just from like random circumstance. Like I think we were there late the one time, and then like I saw it again with somebody else, and I saw it again with somebody else. Um, but what I remember, I liked it, except for like I always complained Jude Law. He just said veers too many times. I was like, please
Oh
stop.
well,
Stop.
I hate to tell you that's our next
He's
story.
coming back, isn't he? Right?
Jude Law is reportedly. That's so funny. You couldn't have set me up better for that.
Uh,
Reportedly, Jude Law is returning. Of course, this is just reportedly right now. That Jude Law is returning. For the Marvels. Returning as Jan Rog, who of course was just kind of phantom zoned at the end of the first film.
mhm,
Not killed, but just kind of like I want you to get back in
mhm.
space and just keep going. That one of those kind of things.
Right.
So I mean, I can't say I'm surprised that he is going to be back. But how do you feel about that? Are you excited for him to call her Veers again multiple times?
No, I'm not. I like Jude Law, like as an actor and everything. I think he's great. It's just like
Yeah,
that
the
character I
character.
could not stand in that movie.
Yeah.
I think it was mostly the writing and his just I don't know. I got annoyed with his voice after a while. Um, but yeah, I am excited for that movie. I am very excited because I
Hmm.
think it'll expand the universe more, and I would like to see more of Tiana Paris in that role.
Yeah, I think she is very very good. Um, in that role, and I think I hope if he is coming back, I hope it's for a important what's it called? I think it should be for an important smaller role. I think a
Hmm.
lot of the first movie was about him kind of being a crutch for her. And I hope that that is fully behind it. I hope it's something like she needs information, or something like that, and less so of like I don't want to see them team up or anything, because the whole kind of first movie was about her gaining her independence from this guy that they weren't romantically involved, or at least we weren't shown that they were romantically involved, but he did have a certain amount of control over her life, constantly lying about her powers and how powerful she really is, kind of bigging her up, but at the same time secretly, he was keeping her down. He was, like she says
Mhm.
in the movie, she says, her whole life she's been fighting with one arm tied behind her back, like, because everybody keeps telling her, she can't amount to anything worthy of whatever, including Yanrog.
Right.
So I feel like that was a big character arc of hers of the first one, so I don't want to see us retread that. But that being said, in the hands of new writers and new directors, like we're getting on this film, maybe they can improve his character and bring it around to be more of a fan favorite character. Because I think a lot of
Mhm.
people got a little annoyed. And like you said, Jude Law is a fantastic performer. It's just this specific character, I think people didn't quite jive with it.
Right.
Yeah. So next up, I don't know if you actually got a chance to look at this, but next up, we are talking about the very first teaser image for the Amazon TV, Amazon Prime
Oh.
TV Lord of the Rings series. So this is reported to be the sorry, not even, I shouldn't even say reported to be. This is going to be the most expensive television show of all time. If you have the stream up,
Oh
it's on
yeah.
screen. Um,
Yeah, I got it up on Twitter.
yeah, it is going to be the most expensive TV show of all time. Obviously up to this point.
Mhm.
Um, it's reportedly having a production budget of about $400 million. Whether that's per season, I'm not sure. I would assume it's
A
per
lot of
season and not
freaking
per
money.
episode, obviously. But it is supposed to be 8 episodes, and we do have a release date of September 2022. So still very
Mhm.
far off. But they have wrapped filming on the entire first season. So what are your thoughts on this? I mean, this has been a project that's been kind of slowly brewing in the back of, everybody's mind, and in the back,
Right.
kind of in the backgrounds of Amazon. It's kind of a big project that they've been working on without really much coming out about it. This is our, like we said, the news of this series was coming broke about 2 years ago, and this is our very first look at it in any capacity. And then even then we're getting this first image, and even now it's still going to be another like 15 months until it actually airs.
Mhm.
So what are your thoughts on this? Are you excited for this? Because I know you like Lord of the Rings and stuff. Does this give you any hope
I'd
for an
say that's
exciting
a
chapter?
uh very valid look at how I like Lord of the Rings is I like it. I'm not like super into it. Like I haven't seen the Hobbits. I've only seen the regular cuts of the trilogy. I have the extended cuts. I bought them on Amazon for Prime Day, but I just have not watched them yet.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm I'm not really excited. Like I'm gonna watch it. I'm looking forward to it, I guess, but it's not something I'm dying to see. Um, I I feel like I have like a love-hate relationship with like fantasy type stuff. Like I think some
Okay.
stuff like jives with me and some of it just does not. Um, like I said, like Lord of the Rings, like Fellowship, like I was very, I it might have been the time I was watching it, like the time of night, but I was just so bored. I was like, we're literally just walking and walking and walking. Um, I forget which one I've told you which one is my favorite. I think it was Return of the King. No, it was Two Towers. Two Towers. Um, which is my favorite. Um, so I do look forward to watching this show. I guess I probably will watch it just because of the scale of it.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of want to see what they're doing with it. This is based off pre-existing characters? I'm assuming, right? Something like
Yeah. So what we see in the movies is what's called the Third Age.
right,
And so the very beginning of Fellowship, in the flashbacks of young Elrond and the fight, the initial fight,
right.
thousands of years ago, right? That
Mhm.
is the end of the Second Age. And then what we watch is, the end of the Third Age, because then it skips forward. This show is going to be about the Second Age. So this show, if it follows the progression of the storyline, will end with the fight with Sauron at Mount Doom.
Gotcha.
Isildur casted into the fire, and then he doesn't. That kind of thing. That's where, and not only is that where the show is going to take place, Amazon paid that much money for the rights just to the Second Age. They specifically only own the second age characters, the second age story, this like all that stuff.
Yep.
So that's why they can't just be like, oh, we're making a Frodo show, because they
Right.
don't own the rights to Frodo or anything like that. And then characters who span the different ages, like Elrond and Galadriel and Gandalf and stuff. Those are still kind of murky waters. Nobody really knows if those characters are going to be in this show, because they are in the second age, but they're mainly third age characters, so that's a little bit of
Mhm.
a question mark, but that's mainly where it's going to be. So it's going to be like uh just prior to the creation of the One Ring, basically.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a lot of fucking money though. Jesus Christ.
I know. I
And
mean, it's literally
for
it's the
something
most expensive.
you're like people aren't paying like they're paying, obviously they're paying their Prime Video subscription, but they're not paying more than that,
Hmm.
you know?
Yeah,
Like that's a lot
exactly.
of freaking money. Granted, Amazon is, one of the biggest companies in the world, so not saying that this is just like a drop in the bucket, but they maybe can, you know, they can make up for it more than some other production companies probably. Just because Amazon does like literally everything. Um, but yeah, I like what it looks beautiful. I will say that it looks very nice to look at. But I'm sure it'll be quality because Amazon has a very good track record with TV shows and movies. I feel like.
Absolutely, yeah. Okay, so last story up here is a little bit of so that is in a podcast interview with MTV's Josh Horowitz, who is a big, he does a lot of the press junkets. He's the guy with the glasses that he was in Zombieland 2 and stuff. He's like a big press junket guy.
Okay.
So James Gunn, in anticipation for his latest film, The
Oh
Suicide
yeah.
Squad. Did you look at any of
I
that?
heard about it. I didn't
Yeah.
read it, but
So I mean, I just want to talk about it a little bit, just to see, um, what's going on here. Uh, so this I should probably just get to it. James Gunn basically on this podcast, which I believe came out in years ago. I think it was 2019 that this podcast aired,
Mhm.
so it's not even a recent podcast. Um, Basically, he said in there, in regards to the Martin Scorsese comments that were kind of dominating news and pop culture around the time of The Irishman's release, which, to refresh,
wait. So this
uh,
interview was 2019.
this podcast that he was on, I'm pretty sure. Hang on, let me see. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I
Okay.
read the wrong 2019 thing. Uh,
Oh, okay.
Scorsese's comments were from 2019 in anticipation for The Irishman. James Gunn, this was for Suicide Squad, which I think is what I said, but then I got myself confused.
Gotcha.
Um, but and this was on the Happy Side Confused podcast from MTV. So
Mhm.
let's just take it back a little bit. Scorsese's original comments back then were, "I tried, but that's not cinema." Um, Honestly, the closest I can think of them, as well made as they are, with actors doing the best they can under the circumstances, is theme parks. So that's where everybody, kind of started jumping down
Mhm.
Scorsese's throat, going, crazy, um, saying, Martin Scorsese thinks Marvel is, a piece of shit, all this stuff. Um, and then now fast forward to today, obviously he was asked about this in the interview. And James Gunn, he gave a candid response and just said, I just think it seems awful cynical that he would keep coming out against Marvel, because it is important to say those are not the only comments that Scorsese made. He didn't just say that in one interview in 2019, and then never circle back to it or anything. When
Mhm.
asked about this, he repeatedly, doubled down, and it was like, that's not cinema, all this stuff. It was a huge conversation. Um, and so now, circling back around a couple years later, we have James Gunn saying in this podcast, I just think it seems awful cynical that he would keep coming out against Marvel, and then that is the only thing that would get him press for his movie. He's creating his movie in the shadow of the Marvel films, and so he uses that to get attention for something he wasn't getting as much attention on as he wanted, or as he wanted for it. Um, And then it does go on to say, that's obviously a quote taken out of context of a 45 minutes, or I'm sorry, of a 45 minute, conversation.
Mhm.
And then, Josh Horowitz, after that kind of podcast clip blew up, Josh Horowitz took to Twitter to say, for the record, I wasn't trying to start World War II between directors I admire. If you watch/listen, there's a lot more nuance than many of these headlines are going with. James Gunn at James Gunn rules, as does Scorsese. And then James Gunn said, also for the record, Martin Scorsese is probably the world's greatest living American filmmaker. I love and study his films and will continue to love and study his films. I disagree with him solely on one point, that films based on comic books are innately not cinema. That is all. So yeah, what are your thoughts on this? Do you think,
So
yeah, sorry.
that quote that you just read, like that thing saying, "Oh, like I admire him." That what you just said. That was something he said after he said what he said in the pod, like
Yeah,
earlier.
that was a tweet.
Oh, it was a tweet.
The
Okay.
second thing I read, yeah. That was a retweet of when Horowitz was like, just to be clear, I didn't want to start World War II type of thing. But yeah, what are your thoughts on this? I mean, is this I just don't know why we have to like drag all this stuff out into the public. And obviously it's
Yeah,
not
I
what
don't
James
really.
Gunn was trying to do, but
Yeah, like I just don't understand like why the man can't like. And when this whole thing like came out, it was like a few days ago, and I was like, I looked at my like pulled up Twitter, and it said like Scorsese was trending, and I was like, why is he trending? And it was all like film Twitter being like, "Fuck you, James Gunn, blah blah, Suicide Squad suck," stuff like that. Um, but I don't understand why one of the greatest filmmakers to ever live can't have a fucking opinion.
mm-hmm.
Like I don't understand. I never got that. I mean, everybody can have an opinion.
Yeah.
It's James Gunn's opinion that he said that to get more press for The Irishman, which wasn't just to get more press for it. In the shadow of the MCU or DCEU, comic book movies in general. I don't know. I get what he was saying. I probably wouldn't have said that if I was in that position. Like, because I don't think that's what he was doing. You know what I mean? It's not like he was trying to get. He'd gotten the movie funded. Netflix was making it. It's coming out. And people with Martin Scorsese's name alone, people are going to be excited for the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think he needs to bash something else in order to, in order to get more publicity for his own thing. Because I also just don't think that's who he is as a person either. Mm-hmm. And I remember, what was that interview? So Irishman when did that come out? 2019?
2019, December 2019, yeah.
Yeah, like even like that one, he was like, "Oh, not cinema ball." It's like it's just his fucking opinion.
Yeah.
Like I get again, he's the like I said, he's one of the greatest directors ever, but it doesn't mean what he's saying is fact.
Yeah.
So like I don't know, just let people have their own opinions. Like I don't understand. And I don't know. I think it's just all we're all kind of just arguing in circles. Like, why are we doing this?
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, James Gunn is fully entitled to his opinion, just like Martin Scorsese is fully entitled to his. And that's the thing that, I think people can lose sight of, kind of like what you were saying, from time to time is like, if one person's opinion is valid, all opinions are valid. As long as your opinion does not, oppress, harm, or, injure, or what, anything like that, other people, everyone is entitled to their own opinion. And I think you're absolutely right on that. Yeah, I think it's probably just one of those things where, it's just a quote taken out of context that, yes, obviously James Gunn did say those words, but, you have to acknowledge the context around it and everything that, clearly James Gunn is not somebody who's going to be like, oh, fuck Martin Scorsese. James Gunn
and you said it was taken out of context. What does literally every tweet say? And all it says is, quote, I think he just said that because he's trying to get more publicity for this movie that's coming out over the Shadow MCU. End quote. That's all it says.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And it's like in order to fully honor what he said, you'd have to quote the entire podcast. And it's
you'd have to go into you have to go in, click play, find where he said it, listen
Yeah,
to
like
it,
they could say, oh, on the Planet Film Live, show, Sean
Mhm.
Monk was quoted as saying, he thinks that rats, don't actually eat the cheese. I think they just hoard it. And it's like, if you take that out of context, you could run with it, and now you got all the rat
Mhm.
community hating on me, which I really don't
Yeah,
want.
yeah.
Especially recently.
After seeing
Um,
Suicide Squad, you don't want that.
no, you do not. Um, Let's see. Michelle in chat said, if someone feels that cinema is just one style or genre that can be superb, then they aren't really watching the other films, i.e., MCU. I never cried or got excited for characters in a Scorsese movie, film like I do with the MCU. It's a running story of 10 years that makes you invested in the story and characters. That's impressive. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I agree. It's one of those things where it's like, uh, you know, to quote Giovanni himself, all film is subjective. And
Mhm.
everybody's
Right.
entitled to their own opinion, and to feel their own way about the particular stories that resonate in the particular way that it only can with the one person. And I think that's just the way that, the kind of the cookie crumbles on that stuff, is that all of Twitter, tries to box in people's opinions of movies or filmmakers and all this stuff, whereas it's a lot more of a delicate situation than that. But yeah, that's our thoughts on that. Let us know, what do you guys think of this news. What do you guys think of the comments James Gunn made and versus the comments Martin Scorsese made? What are your thoughts on that? Is it something that you feel everybody's entitled to their own opinion on? Do you have any other sort of issue with it or something like that, or do you understand that it's just two men that have a fundamental disagreement on this one thing? Let us know what you thought. Let us know what you think about the other news. Are you excited for the Lord of the Rings show? The Marvels coming up, and everything else that we talked about. Idris Elba as Knuckles. Um, yeah. Was there anything else that you wanted to talk about before we got into the main topic?
Uh, Other than that, I think the celebrities coming out saying they don't bathe is fucking disgusting. It's fucking
Oh
weird.
yeah, yeah. So who do we got? We
Looking
got
at you, Jake. Oh my god,
Jake
I saw this hilarious tweet.
about
It was
Mysterio.
yeah, did you see that?
I think I know the one that you're gonna say.
Where it was like the video at the end where he has the gun
Yeah.
and somebody was like, "Oh, his spidey senses were off the chart," and somebody said he must have smelled him. I was like, "Oh, that was a good one." And then The Rock said he showers 3 times a day. And then Jason Momoa said something like, "Of course I shower. I'm fucking Aquaman," or something like that, which I thought was funny.
That's fucking
Um,
funny.
yeah, I don't know. I think that's just stupid to me. I get like if you were to be like, "Oh, I don't wash my hair every day," that makes sense because the oils and stuff in your hair. You're not supposed to wash your hair every day. You're supposed to do it like 2 or 3 times a week, I think, or something like that. But something to say they just literally just don't. They don't bathe unless they're like dirty. I think that's just weird because you're
Yeah.
dirty all the time. Like you're literally dirty as soon as you get out of the shower
Mhm.
or bath or whatever you do.
Yeah, like I think Jake Gyllenhaal said something like the body, if we don't suppress our bodies or something, they have a very natural way of cleaning themselves or something like
Mhm.
that. But yeah, really
Yeah,
wacky Hollywood stuff. But yeah. Um all right. You ready?
I'm ready. Yeah.
Here we go. So, big topic this week is speaking of James Gunn, 2021's The Suicide Squad. So this movie has been kind of dominating the at least the film Twitter aspects of the
Hmm.
internet and the conversation, with a lot of circles of people, but clearly not all circles of people, based on what we talked about a little bit earlier in the show with the box office. But yeah, we are here just to talk about the actual film. So we're gonna spend probably about like 5-10 minutes on non spoilers, and then we're gonna close out the show with a spoiler review. Yeah. Once again, every time we don't say it's gonna be a shorter show, it ends up being about a shorter show.
Hmm.
Because we're not even in an hour yet. But with that being said, what did you think about this movie? What was the story of this movie? How'd you feel?
I really, really, really enjoyed myself. Saw this about 10:30 at night. I think no 10:15. Because it was at 10, 15 minutes later. Trailers, blah blah blah. I thought it was way better than the first one in 2016. I enjoyed all the characters that were in it. I thought Idris Elba was great. I thought John Cena was very good. Um, Margot Robbie was great as always. And I thought Viola Davis was fucking stellar. She scared me. I'll tell you what. She didn't scare you in the first one in 2016. She definitely scares you in this one.
Mm-hmm.
I also thought Joel Kinnaman was very good. I liked how they kind of redid his character almost. Rick Flag, yeah. I feel like they made him less military, which I liked.
Yeah.
Because in the first one he's kind of got all his gear on and everything, and this one he's literally got like a t-shirt and pants, and
It was a little bit
that's
more
about
like
it.
a person.
Yeah, like a little bit more relaxed and casual, which I liked. Not every single joke hit for me, but the ones that did were funny. And there was a lot of surprises. And I was watching like the Geek Buddies like review. I think earlier today. The one thing they said, which I actually like agreed with, was like one of the characters that was kind of like you kind of wish they did more with was Peter Capaldi's the Thinker.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of just, I mean, I guess there'll be spoiler stuff, but he was just kind of, he wasn't used as much as you maybe would have liked him to be. And it is a big cast, so it's like everybody's got to have their own time and everything like that. But I think hands down, best two characters for me were Polka Dot Man, David Dastmalchian, I think that's how you pronounce it, and King Shark, Sylvester Stallone. He was fucking hilarious, and he made me care about him too. James Gunn did. I was like, oh, I like this character, because there was a moment something happens, and I was like, oh, don't do it, but they didn't do it, so that was okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, I really had a great time.
Yeah, I think I don't know. So we just recently on the channel we just did an episode of a new thing that we were trying on the channel, Films Revisited. So that's basically we revisited the first Suicide Squad movie, 2016 Suicide Squad, to see if it still held up or if it got any better with time and stuff. I actually, I warmed up to it a little bit on that rewatch. I thought it was a little bit better than I had remembered / kind of gave credit for.
I did not.
Yeah, you did not. So and one thing that it really got me amped up for was seeing the returning characters, because I was like, I liked Rick Flag in the first one. I liked Viola Davis as Amanda Waller. I liked Harley Quinn. I liked Captain Boomerang, but like I wasn't crazy about it. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. In this, I will say all four of those characters, I think this is the best they've ever been on screen. And I think for two in particular, that being Rick Flag and Amanda Waller, I think the level of improvement from the last time we saw them to now is off the charts. Like, it's just absolutely off the charts. Especially with Rick Flag. Like you said, totally different vibe. It's amazing what just the hair and makeup and wardrobe department can do to change an entire character around. You look at, just much more, everybody in this, but including Rick Flag, much more comic book accurate with, the yellow shirt and like kind of the longer, hair with the bangs and stuff, kind of that like more like, pretty boy look than like the kind of like grim and like dirty, like goatee guy that we got in the last one. And I really think that Joel Kinnaman just like owned it in this movie. I think Rick Flag was one of my one of my favorite characters coming out of the movie for sure. And another one which we'll talk more about in spoilers, because I feel like I'm in the minority on this one for one particular reason that we'll get into. I really loved Peacemaker. I know some people,
Mm.
we'll talk about it, but that one thing aside, I really love that character. I think Cena was really putting in the work to show uh right now I know James Gunn has this beautiful gift of he can get a great performance out of literally almost anybody. So I'd like to see him give this level of performance under another director before I make any like super statements about it or anything. But I think he really proved, he's been proving the last couple of years that he can really bring it in a comedy sense. I think he really proved he has dramatic chops. In this movie, there are some dark dramatic places that John Cena has to go to in this movie that is almost dialogue free. That one scene in particular, which is the scene that we'll talk about, um I mean, the look on his face, you could tell there's almost in this scene there's almost tears welling up in his eyes, and why he looks like that. You believe that there's a certain thing that he does that he's reluctant to do, and you believe that reluctancy on John Cena's face.
Mhm.
If you had told me that I would have that level of like, oh my god, John Cena, the wrestler turned actor right now, but the wrestler, you know, is trying to convey this deep emotion and this deep, story beat just
Mhm.
through, his facial emoting and stuff like that. And I would have been like, oh, good luck with that type of it. But I freaking buy it. He's so good in this. And there's multiple scenes like that. And then the dramatic side aside, Peacemaker, when the scene with him and Bloodsport when they're going through the camp, right? And they're doing kind of the one
Mhm.
up competition. Uh just absolutely amazing stuff. And then I think, yeah, like you said, Polka Dot Man, Ratcatcher 2. Ratcatcher 2 was I think really was a big, scene stealer and stuff. Like I've said, it's like Polka Dot Man was kind of like the soul of the movie, and she was kind of like the heart of the
Right.
movie.
Yeah.
It was like Polka Dot Man stood for kind of like what the movie stands for, like the weirdest, strangest, craziest stuff can in the end be what saves everybody. And then Ratcatcher 2 was the heart of the movie in the sense of you know she brought the emotional weight and the emotional payoff and everything like that that was just amazing. And then also, Harley Quinn was great in this too. I mean, we'll talk about it more in spoilers. I think she could have done a little bit more. I'm not saying this is a perfect movie by any means, but it's pretty damn near close. So I think we'll hop into spoilers, but first I'll say, um, I give it a 4.5 out of 5.
Yeah, that's exactly where I was at.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah, I think it is not a perfect film, uh,
No, yeah.
but there are few I could count on one, maybe two hands my issues with it, um, and I mean like even nitpicks less than 10. Um, yeah, 4.5. I mean, absolutely. In my opinion, if you want a recommendation to go see this, absolutely go see it. I'm one that, stay safe, do whatever you're doing with COVID. If you're in a position where you're vaccinated, you feel comfortable going to the theaters, see this on a huge
Definitely see it in a
screen.
theater, yeah.
Yes, because I've watched it twice. I watched it once at the theater, I watched it once at home. Um, and, even with my TV downstairs, which is, pretty good TV, it's it's not the same. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's just not the same. Um, but that being said, if all you could do is stay home and watch it, it still plays great. It's just you can't. It's not a theater in your living room, that kind of thing. Um, but if HBO Max is your only option, make it be an option. Watch
Mhm.
Definitely watch it for sure. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, would you say, in your opinion, do you think this is the best DCEU so far?
No. I
What would
still
you put above it?
liked Shazam more
Okay,
and probably Wonder Woman.
really? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, if I
Shazam for
recall.
me was my number one for a long time. This, I think, beat Shazam in my
Mhm.
opinion. Um, I like the first Wonder Woman. I know, like, everybody's like, "Oh my god, it's the best thing." Um, and I'm like, "Yeah, it's like real great." Woohoo! I don't know what the hell
Mhm.
happened in the sequel. I don't know what the fuck that was. But yeah, I would say this actually edged out Shazam, which is crazy because like one of my most anticipated movies of the upcoming years is Shazam 2. So maybe that'll retake this over. But for now, I think
Mhm.
this really did. I think it really DC really stepped their game up with this, and like we talked about in the box office segment, whether it's COVID, whether it's HBO Max, whether it's just people aren't interested, I think it might have been little not too little, but too late. I think.
Mhm.
But that
Yeah.
being said, take the performance out of it. This movie is fantastic. Let's go ahead and
Mhm.
dive into the spoiler alert. So we're waving our hands. Spoiler alert. If you don't want to be spoiled for James Gunn's The Suicide Squad, please leave now. Make sure comment, like, subscribe, share the video, all that stuff. Come right back here once you've seen the movie for the rest of the spoiler section.
Mhm.
But yeah, so on to the spoilers.
Were
So how are you feeling about
Were
the
you
cats?
surprised that Captain Boomerang died so early?
Um,
I was very surprised.
are you talking about in the moment or like once I thought about it for a second? Because in the moment I
No,
was
kind of like
like,
in the moment. In the
yeah,
moment.
in the moment I was like, oh
Yeah.
fuck. But then I was
Yeah.
like,
Well,
well,
I immediately was like, I thought he was gonna, because he was one of the what people say people were some people's
some of
favorite
their
thing of the
favorite.
2016 one
Yeah.
was his Jai Courtney's Captain Boomerang. So I was surprised that he just kind of got killed so fast.
Mm-hmm.
I was
What a
expecting him
great
to
death.
be. Oh yeah.
Gruesome.
As soon as Pete Davidson stood up, I knew he was gone. I
Yeah,
knew
as
he
soon
was
as
fucking
like,
getting shot in
hey
the face.
guys, I
Eh,
was like, kill this
this
motherfucker.
fucking
Like,
guy.
yeah,
Yeah, I did
exactly. Like,
react. I was like, oh shit! Like he got his face
bro,
blown
what
off.
kind
It
of
was
fucking
crazy.
bullet was that?
I,
Like, what? What kind of bullet does that?
yeah,
Like, oh
yeah.
my god.
Um, I think one of my favorite parts of the movie was probably when uh they're going to look for Rick Flag and they, John Cena and Idris Elba kill all those fucking freedom fighters and they get to the tent
Yeah, in the
and it's
fucking
like,
village. Oh
how
god.
come nobody told me you were here?
Yeah, Joel Kinnaman.
Which
He's like, they're the freedom fighters. They just rescued me, and then like,
right,
oh, we didn't see anybody.
which which occurred to me the more I thought about it, I was like, does this make sense? Because wouldn't Viola Davis be able to contact Rick Flag if he's not captured? Because there would be no reason to take like his earpiece or whatever, right? So wouldn't wouldn't she just be able to, unless she knew, but I didn't think she did.
I think they're probably saying you're right. It's never explicitly stated, but I would
Yeah.
assume he didn't have his earpiece because remember, she says later when their comms go down, she's like,
Right.
she's like, we can't talk to you, but I
Right.
still
There
have
was
all your.
a
She's like,
interference thing.
yeah, she was like, I still have all your GPS locations and the bombs still work. So I think it was something that like he was probably out of comms range, but she could still,
Maybe,
but
yeah.
like John could still, track his GPS location because that's what happens
Right.
later is that she's like, I can still see where all of you are, I
Right,
just
right,
can't
right.
talk to you.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I assumed, or maybe the freedom fighters just like took it out of his ear and was like, who are you talking
Right.
to, that kind of thing, something like that.
Something I thought was interesting is that they kind of reuse the whole Deadshot storyline in this movie with Bloodsport, which I think, I don't know, maybe didn't work as well. I don't know, maybe like, because you never see that kind of reconciliation with his daughter. You know what I mean? Like she sees him on the TV, but you never see them together again, which I kind of thought was interesting.
Yeah.
But is like when I was watching it, I was like, man, Bloodsport is really close to just being Deadshot. Like it's like, I mean, that's probably how the character is, like in the comics. Like is Bloodsport just he can kill you with anything? Like his Deadshot is just, he just doesn't really miss.
Well,
Like
I
he's
think that's
very
kind of like
accurate.
part of the joke too. Is like
Okay.
when she says, when John, who by the way, Steve Agee playing two different roles, playing John Economist, or John Economist, or however you pronounce it, who is a comic book character, the support guy with the beard and stuff.
Mhm.
he runs Belle Reve prison in the comics, so it's cool to see him in this. But
Oh, okay.
when she's like explaining it, and he's like, "Who the hell is Bloodsport?" And she's like
Yeah.
explaining it, and then later when she's explaining Peacemaker, she says the exact same thing. Like that's like the joke.
Right.
I think the
Yeah.
joke is like when she says, each member of the team is chosen for their exact unique specific
Unique.
ability, and
Yeah.
he's like, and Idris is like, "Are you fucking kidding me? You just
Hmm.
said that everybody's chosen for the unique ability. He does exactly what I do." Like
Right.
I think that's
Right.
part of like the meta joke of it. But that being said, the meta joke only goes so far. It's clearly just, I mean, because we know from a behind the scenes standpoint, originally Will Smith was gonna be in this, then he said he
Hmm.
wasn't. Then they were like, all right, so Idris is just gonna be cast as Deadshot, and then they were like, well, what if Will wants to come back? Let's just make it a different character type of thing. Yes, I know that it's similar, it's very similar, but I think there's enough differences there, and I think that the in terms of the motivation, like the stuff with the daughter, yeah, that's very similar.
Mm.
But I feel like in terms of the actual character, I feel like they are very different. You know what I mean? Like they have
Mm.
different morals, they stand for different things. Um, but that being said, I think it's just typically from a writing standpoint, the script was probably written with that character being Deadshot.
Right.
Um, and so I think kind of limited in that capacity.
Mm.
But that being said, well, yeah, I mean, like Michelle said in the chat, get some imagination. But I think it's one of those things where it was kind of, again, it was kind of real world impeding on that, because it was going to be still Deadshot very close to the start of production, and you can only rewrite so much. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Um, but that being said, I think the places where those two characters do diverge, I think it's very, very good. And me personally,
Mm.
go watch the films revisited that we did. I couldn't say enough how much I loved Will Smith as Deadshot. Looking back at the movie, I much prefer Idris Elba's Bloodsport. I think that it's a much better character in general. And
Mm.
I think it's a better performance, and I think he's just a little bit more fun. I don't know. I really enjoyed that
Yeah.
character in this movie.
Yeah. I liked him and John Cena's back and forth. I thought that was funny. Um, did you think that King Shark was gonna die as soon as you saw those little
Like right at the
piranha
end.
things? No, those like piranha type. I
Oh
knew
yeah,
when
when
he
they
was thrown
started
into the
like biting
building.
him and stuff.
Yeah, I was like, oh no. I was like, don't go like this, please. I was very nervous. I was like,
Hmm.
oh my god, please don't die. Um, but I'll tell you the death that really I was kind of like, oh, like come on, was the polka dot man one. I was kind of like, really? Like we couldn't have kept
I want
him.
to ask you about that. Did you feel that
Okay.
that was a little too telegraphed? I'm
That he
a
was gonna
superhero. Like, you know what I mean?
I
I was
feel
a
like
little like
that's something
when the
I've seen
camera
before.
cut. Yeah, like when the camera
Yeah.
cut to the wide shot, it's like, okay, well, why is it a wide shot?
Right.
It's like,
Yeah.
and granted, it's like 2 seconds, and like I would say to the regular movie going audience, they're not going to think anything of it. But like to somebody who like
Yeah.
watches movies all the time, like that's such a played out beat that you're like, as
It
soon as
is.
he
Yeah.
goes like, I'm a superhero, I did it, like
Right.
he's gonna be gone. And it's like,
Yeah.
and I agree with you. I loved that character. I grew to love that character so much, and I was like, great, he's gonna survive. I was like, he's actually gonna like live through it, and then boom. But I mean, this
Yeah.
universe, there were still some polka dots on the ground. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they were like, maybe his mom comes and picks up one of
Yeah.
the polka dots and brings him back to life. All the stuff, the jokes with his mom. I
His
mean,
mom and stuff are
just the
funny. Yeah.
visual humor of that was incredible. I mean,
Mhm.
and it's like all three times they did it, it was perfect. It was like, the scene where he goes, she goes, where's your mother now? And he just goes, everywhere. And then it shows the
Everywhere. Yeah.
Suicide Squad as the mom. And then
Yeah.
later, like, it's so creepy when like all of his mom is like dancing and like twerking on him and stuff. And then at the
Oh yeah.
very end, the great thing where Idris just goes, "That's your
It's your mom.
mom." And he looks, and she's like, she's like batting like Starro
That
turns
was
into this
funny. Yeah.
middle-aged woman. Such funny stuff.
Yeah.
Like you said, every joke for me didn't land perfectly, but I still really really liked majority of it. Let's talk about so we talked a little bit about the deaths in the beginning, with Captain Boomerang and stuff, but
Mhm.
let's talk about some of the hard hitting deaths towards the third act. Um,
Mhm.
the number one hard hitting death, I would assume everybody would be the same, which is Rick Flag, with the
Mhm.
kind of third act, but not betrayal, but just the third act kind of reveal of which not really is anybody's fault, but like Peacemaker is on a different mission. If he doesn't uphold, yes, he's trying to uphold the peace. That's his thing. But also, that's his mission from Waller.
Mhm.
If he doesn't do his mission, he's getting the
He's
bomb in the
gonna
neck.
die.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like that's the thing that I think people are forgetting is that like yeah, he did it, and there was a little bit of like when Ratcatcher 2 when he's about to take her out and she goes, like why kill me? Why not just destroy the thing?
Yeah.
And you could tell and in that moment he's like, "Oh fuck." But then he like kind of like reaffirms it and he's like because I'm thorough. And you can tell just in Cena's delivery of that line when he like
Mhm.
recocks the gun and he's like because I'm thorough. It's like he doesn't believe that. He didn't want to do what he just did and he definitely doesn't want to kill her. You know what I mean? It's just like he's just doing it
Yeah.
because I think his morals are so he doesn't even know what he stands for anymore.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god.
Looking back on it,
Yeah.
it's like I get the like I'm thorough, like, I can't have anybody knowing about this. I'm gonna kill anybody that knows about this.
Mhm.
But in reality, she says, I'm not gonna tell anybody. In reality, I personally watching that, I believe her.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
obviously she knows the
it's easy when
consequences.
she's got the gun pointed at her face.
Right, right.
Yeah.
But again, if you look back at it, the drive sitting there, you could easily fucking smash that thing and nothing's, and you don't
There's no
have to
proof.
threaten her.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no
Right.
proof at all.
So maybe that's a little, people can look at that and be like, oh, that's a little, maybe you could kind of close that gap a little bit. When he was shot, that's when I was like, oh, the show is a prequel.
Same, absolutely.
With
Yeah,
with the
totally
reveal
intentional, I
that he
think.
was alive watching that, like I'll have to watch the movie again, but like watching him on the ground, I was like, this motherfucker's dead. Like, there's
Mhm.
no fucking way that he's still like, so
Yeah.
I mean, again, it's a fucking comic book movie, so anything can really happen. But I was kind of like, that motherfucker's dead.
Yeah.
And the whole like kind of like slow-mo of uh Bloodsport's bullet splitting Peacemaker's bullet,
Oh yeah,
and
so
I
cool.
thought that was so cool.
And what a great
Um,
callback to the beginning of the movie where Peacemaker says, I use smaller bullets, and then you
right.
realize at the end it's like, no, he doesn't. Like he uses like these
Yeah.
huge, like bombastic, like American bullet type thing, and you know,
Yeah.
uh Dubois just goes right through it. And
Yeah.
you're right, the CG on that where his bullet just cuts right through
Yeah.
it and Peacemaker's just like falls apart and you're
Right.
just like, "Oh shit."
Yeah.
And then like
What did
you're
you
not really sure what happens at first. Yeah, and then Peacemaker
Yeah.
just like falls to the ground.
What'd you kind of think of this whole kind of storyline where it's like the Americans were testing this thing? It just seemed so like looking back on it, it
Mhm.
seems such like just like a United States thing. Where it's
Yeah.
like we find
Yeah,
this
like let's
thing,
talk
we're gonna
let's talk
fucking bring
about
it
the
down.
thinker too
Yeah.
in this. Yes. I liked that. I thought it's a old trope that's like, America, covering up its secrets and stuff like that. Like,
Yeah.
and I mean, obviously, there's some truth to it.
I mean there's truth to that.
Obviously,
It's not, yeah.
yeah. Like, but yeah, I really enjoyed the Thinker, and especially in that scene when he's just like laying it out. Like when it's just Rick, Cleo, and the Thinker down there, and he's just
Mhm.
like fucking like, and Rick's like, we gotta destroy this shit, and the Thinker's just like in the best way that Peter Capaldi could go. And I'll say too, as much as I love Peter Capaldi, I think there was just enough of the Thinker, because it's like
Mhm.
otherwise he served exactly the role and purpose that he needed to serve in the movie. If you have him in any of the rest of it, it it's only there to serve, to see the character more. You know what I mean? I think if you
Yeah.
did any more, it would just be, kind of self-serving, not serving the actual
I think
plot.
that's the argument though, is that you didn't really need that character in the movie at all. Like you could have had him playing a regular scientist and been the same because I don't think they really show because his power, he's really smart, right? Is that
Mm-hmm.
his shtick? Uh, I don't think they really show that he's this brainiac's really smart person. I think
Mm-hmm.
you put a scientist in that position and it's fucking same, you know?
Yeah.
Like I'm not looking at these experiments on these humans. Like this guy, he has no legs. He's still alive. He's being held together by one of the Starro things.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that's not really showing me that he's really smart. It's just showing me that he's a fucked up person. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, but like I said, I didn't know anything about the Thinker going in,
Mm-hmm.
and the movie didn't really teach me anything
Yeah.
more about the character.
Well, I will say the character of the Thinker in this is not the comic book character. Like this character
Right.
is totally invented just for this movie. Like the
Okay.
Thinker in the comics and in the Flash TV show, like that's like Clifford DeVoe. Like he's like the brainiac level genius type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
This guy, I mean, I don't know what kind of intelligence they were kind of go with, but that's
Going
what I'll
for
say
it,
to
yeah.
that is that I didn't have a problem with it because to me, he wasn't playing Clifford DeVoe. Like he was just playing a guy who goes by the name of the Thinker, who in essence,
Mm.
could have just been just he just that's what he was. He was just a scientist. Like
Yeah.
he was clearly a genius. I mean, you'd have to be a genius to be doing the things that he was doing with this like alien life form. Um
Mm.
but yeah, like, and I love when he's talking to when the general says to him, and he's like, "Those things in your head, they make your brain good," and he's like, "Yes, they make my brain good." Like he's like the way that Capaldi, and then I love too. I mean, there was definitely hints of his doctor coming out in there, but the
Mm-hmm.
one line that I loved was a throwback to Malcolm Tucker, who was the character that he played in the TV show. The Thick of It, and then the movie In the Loop, which is like this it was what he was most famously known for before Doctor Who. Is basically this like PR guy for politicians like in Parliament. Um and his famous thing is that he just swears all the time. He just swears
Oh,
at everyone with everyone. And
yeah.
so when he was like fucking Yankee fucking doodle dandies, like I was like, oh
Yeah.
fuck yes. I was like, I love that line because that just brought me right back to Malcolm Tucker, and I was like, oh, that was
Mm-hmm.
so fucking funny when he said that. Fucking Yankee Doodle fucking dandies. Like that was so hilarious. Like that was like such a Peter Capaldi line. But yeah, I mean, I think, and I love Peter Capaldi. I think his character, I think, served the movie perfectly. And of course, like we talked about before, film is subjective. To me, I think he just served exactly what the movie needed him to serve, and not much more. And then we also get
Mm-hmm.
a great death out of him. Um,
Oh
but
yeah, that
that
was
being
brutal.
said, let's talk. I know we kind of talked around it, but what did you think of the Rick Flag death? I mean, how did you feel it? Were you like,
I was surprised.
like,
That's
were you
another
like,
one
holy
that
fuck? Like,
I was very
that
surprised that
really
he
hit
died.
me. Yeah.
I can't say like I'm the again because I think emotionally I just got attached to King Shark. Like I was like I do not want
Hmm.
this motherfucker to die. He's so funny. He's just trying to get some friends, you know.
Yeah.
He's not a bad shark. He's just he's trying. So much that I might have to cop me a King Shark Funko Pop. Might have to do it.
Where's our
Um,
10-inch? That's what I'm saying. I want a 10-inch King Shark.
um, but yeah, that death, I was like, oh fuck, I was very surprised. I
Hmm.
thought for sure he would make it to the end of the movie, just because he's he's very front and center. He's like one of the main characters.
Yeah.
But yeah, him and well, I guess Peacemaker didn't die, but in the moment, I thought
Hmm.
he was also dead, and I was like, oh wow, um, yeah, I was very surprised.
Yeah, I really loved that. What's it called? I really loved that whole kind of fight, like that whole kind of turn that Peacemaker made. I think really, really worked for
Hmm.
me. And like I said earlier in the non-spoiler section, a lot of
Right.
people are like, "Oh, fuck that guy," he turned on whatever, he killed Rick Flag. Rick Flag to me coming out of this movie was my favorite honestly, was one of my favorite characters, like top 3
Mhm.
if not the top character. I really loved Joel Kinnaman's performance in this, and I really liked the new characterization of Rick Flag. I thought it was perfect.
Mhm.
But yeah, that being said, I really did not expect when that fight broke out, which by the way, how awesome was that fight with, being
Mhm.
filmed in the helmet and stuff like that was just so cool like that shot. Like that's another thing about James Gunn. Like he just constantly finds new ways to film things to make things entertaining and kind of be
Mhm.
different and all that kind of stuff. I really really love that. Um yeah, when that fight broke out, I didn't think either of them was going to die. I thought it was just going to be like a big
Mhm.
fight and then be like, kind of like what are we doing? Like or a big fight and
Right.
then, maybe within the fight they break the drive and then they're like, "Well, I guess we don't have to fight anymore." Like that kind of thing.
Right.
I did not expect and again, it goes back to Cena's great performance in that they're fighting and, Rick's got Peacemaker pinned down and, Peacemaker's just grabbing for whatever and when he stabs him in the heart, the look on Cena's face where he's like
And that
no no no.
like that
Oh
shot
yeah,
of his
the
heart,
like Mortal
literally, like,
Kombat. Yeah,
yeah.
and like the look on Cena's face when he's like, oh, what the fuck did I just like? What did I do? Like I had to do this, but like what the fuck? And the
Yeah.
line earlier when he said, he was like, I need to uphold peace at any cost, and he says, a great line that I think Cena delivers perfectly is he says, even if that means killing a hero like you, sir. Like he's
Mhm.
so respectful of him, and you can clearly tell that like he looks up to Rick Flag, but he's like, I'll do whatever I have to do, even if that means killing a hero like you.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's like Jesus Christ, like, and just that line alone really makes like it's another step in building Rick Flag as this like truly heroic guy. Like, um,
Mhm.
oh man, it's just so, oh my god, so crazy. But yeah, what's some other stuff that we haven't talked? Oh yeah, Harley. We haven't really talked about Harley
Harley,
at
yeah.
all. What were your thoughts on her on this? I personally think this is the best interpretation that we've gotten of her so far. I
Yeah,
really liked the escape scene, but yeah.
uh, uh, wasn't a big fan of her in Suicide Squad 2016. I was not a big fan of Birds of Prey.
Hmm.
Um, but I thought she was very good. I think Margot Robbie definitely has. Uh, I think she's definitely like one of the standouts in playing a comic book character in DCEU, if that makes
Hmm.
sense. Like I think she's one of the best parts of that universe.
Yeah, I would say in DCEU for sure.
Right. Um, and I just liked her kind of connection with all of the characters around her.
Hmm.
Obviously, like the main connection in 2016 one was Deadshot,
Yeah.
and obviously Joker. Um, but I feel like she kind of, she cared about everyone kind of the same in the movie. Um, in this 2021 version of the
Would
Suicide
you
Squad.
want to see Deadshot back? Like, would you like how would you like to see a suicide if there ever was? What would you like to see like out of a Suicide Squad 3?
I've been seeing people saying we need Justice League for Suicide Squad. I think that'd be really cool. I don't
I
think
think it'd be
that'll ever
cool. I think
happen. That would never happen.
it'd be a 5 minute movie.
Right. Oh yeah, I mean, um, I don't know. A Suicide Squad 3.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know. Maybe just a bunch of like get just a bunch of new characters. Like there's a Condiment King, right? I want to see him in the
Hmm.
Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
I
I would
think
love to
I
see
think
like
it.
Mirror Master. Show me what Mirror Master
I
looks
don't know
like
who the fuck
with
that is, but
he's a guy who
uh,
traps people in mirrors. Like show me what that looks like with like a movie budget. That would be so
yeah,
cool. Like that
I
would be
think you
awesome.
just. I think maybe you just bring it with like the same, bring back Viola Davis and everything, her character, but you just bring back new villains.
Yeah.
Maybe you have like one or two of the same villains,
Hmm.
um, or you have I don't know, maybe you have a go after a hero or something. Maybe just one singular, kind of like the Suicide Squad game, like they're doing,
Yeah, like
where they're going after
I
Superman.
agree 100%. Like just have it be like this hero has gone rogue. Like
Mhm.
say I don't know, say it's like uh, I don't know. So I can't think of any DC superhero that's not. Okay, let's say Superboy or something,
I think it has to be
like, has
somebody
gone
it
rogue.
can't be somebody OP. Like I feel
Yeah,
like it just
like,
can't be Superman for a movie
yeah,
because it's just like he's just too OP. Like
yeah, like, let's say Red Hood. Oh, yo, my mind just went a million places when I said that.
I'll,
You
I'll be
imagine live
seriously
action Red
honest too.
Hood versus the
If
Suicide
you set
Squad?
them after Batman, I'd believe that. They take down Batman, I'd be like, yeah, I could see that. You got again. Batman doesn't have fucking. He's not Superman. He's not Wonder Woman. He's not the Flash. He's not Cyborg. He doesn't
Yeah.
have these fucking amazing powers. He's got a bunch of gadgets and a lot of money. So
You know
I could
what
see.
I actually think would be the cooler movie?
Mm,
Give me Suicide Squad. Give me Suicide Squad versus Batman, but make it be where it's like just personal that Bruce wronged Waller somehow, some way.
yeah,
Show me what
you
it
have
looks
that end
like
credit scene.
Suicide Squad versus Bruce Wayne. He's on
Mm.
vacation or something, away from the Batcave, away from all that. Show me like it's like
Oh,
Iron Man
it's kind of
3.
like survival
Yeah,
almost.
like
Like you have
Iron
like
Man
it's kind
3
of like a
style. What can Bruce
yeah
do without all of his toys?
without anything.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because to me it's like, yes, he's not Superman and stuff, but
right.
Batman, with all of everything that he brings to the table, I still think
Yeah.
could take down the Suicide Squad.
Oh
Like
no,
I
I
still
agree.
like,
Yeah,
especially if we're talking about like Batfleck.
I just think they'd have a better chance if it was
Oh, for
Batman.
sure, yeah, yeah. I mean, because like you could literally, I mean, if you got the right angle on it, you could just shoot him right in the brain. I mean,
Right.
I mean that would do it.
Man, it's like he's above you. He just fucking like
Lasers you in
eyeballs you to
half.
death. You're
Yeah,
fucking
exactly.
dead. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm looking over my notes. I'm trying to think. Yeah, like
Starro? Do you want to talk about Starro?
yeah. I think Starro is the best DCEU villain so far, in my opinion, and he's a giant starfish.
Yeah, the only knowledge I had of Starro was he was in I want to say one or two episodes of Batman Beyond where he takes over the Justice League. Which I believe is adapted like right from the comic. I believe that's whatever comic it is. Because I think he like first shows up in a Justice League comic or something like that.
Yeah, Starro is actually the first enemy that the Justice League fought together. Like,
Oh
ever.
wow, okay.
Yeah, period.
Yeah. So I had some knowledge, like I knew what he was doing. I knew kind of, what his whole thing was. I thought it looked great. I thought it looked very good.
Fuck yeah.
Very colorful. I mean,
Yeah.
the whole movie was very colorful, but he had that, or he didn't have that one line, but there's that one thing where he says something about like
Oh, you're talking
enjoying
about the last line?
the last
Yeah.
line. What
Oh
is
my
that?
god. Yeah, he says, so he's talking through like the general, like the main general guy, and it's right after, Harley and the rats and everybody, take him down, and he talks through the guy and he says, I was happy floating, staring at the stars, and then he dies. And it's like, ain't that a bitch?
Yeah.
He was just fucking, he was literally just out there, just cruising,
Chilling. Yeah.
going right past Earth, just being like, hey, what's up? And fucking Americans, let's take him, let's cage him up, and let's keep him in a hole for 30 years. Oh,
Right.
and also because we're idiots, we're gonna feed him and make him grow, increase the threat that he didn't even pose in the first place. Absolutely terrible. Let's close off one thing that we haven't touched on a little bit is let's talk a little bit more about Ratcatcher and Ratcatcher 2 and her father, played by the incomparable Oscar-winning Taika Waititi, with one line in the film, probably the most emotionally resonant line in the entire film. And again, he only has the one line in the film. I'll say that it didn't bring me to tears, but it moved me almost to tears. That line, and then when it cuts back to her and she is crying, I was like, oh man. And just the way Taika delivered that, and the way that she talks about, like, because clearly, it's never even explicitly said, but it's pretty much just shown, like, the way that she talks about, like, he overdosed on heroin and that's how he died, like, and the way that she just calls it, like, her father's burden, You know what I mean? And then she's like, one day his burden was just too much. And it's like, he wasn't some like deadbeat dad because of it or whatever. You know, he made her feel like the world was, you know, hers, you know, type of thing. Like,
Right.
and just that line when she's like, you know, why rats? And he just says, you know, if rats, he's like, rats are the most, you know, loathsome and hated creatures in the world. And if they have purpose, you know, so do we all. And then the music
Right.
kicks in and stuff, and then Taika just kind of like has that smile on his face and stuff. He's like, oh my god, what a brilliant performance in one
Yeah.
line of dialogue.
I had when I heard that he was in it, I was like, oh, okay. And then I like went in and then I like forgot that he was in it until he showed up. And I was like, oh fuck, I forgot he was in this.
Yeah, I mean, what a
But yeah,
great
I
line.
agree with everything you said.
Yeah, it really just like we talked about a little bit earlier. Like she was 100% the heart of the movie. Like just
Mhm.
oh my god, it like breaks your heart just thinking about it. But the fact, you know, that in the end, you know, there were tears of joy. It was, you know,
Mhm.
the rats have their purpose, and this is her fulfilling hers. She has finally
Right.
found her purpose in life. And it's just like, oh, and it's just like she's crying, and she's protecting, you know, the only father figure that she has in her life right now in Bloodsport. Um, you know, knowing that she is saving, maybe not the world, could have eventually been the world, but she's saving the people of Corto Maltese, and she's saving Bloodsport, and she's, you know, using the rats that like her father trained her how to do and all that stuff. And just the tear, like I just believe the tears streaming down her face so much. Like the performances, I can't say it enough. The performances in this movie are out of this world. Like they are just so fantastic. Um yeah, I mean, what a film. So good.
Very good movie.
Yeah. Do you have any last things to say
Um,
before we go?
no, not specifically. That's about it for me.
Yeah. Um man, yeah, just a fantastic film. Um
Mhm.
let me just see. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely fantastic film. Thank you so much for joining us on episode 52. Oh, 52, talking about a DC movie. Look at that. New 52. Yeah, thank you so much, guys, for joining us on the 52nd episode of Planet Film Live. Once again, let us know, how are you guys liking the new look? How are you guys liking the box office segment? Let us know, what were your thoughts on the Suicide Squad? Are you excited? Do you hope that they make a third one despite the poor performance at the box office? How are you feeling about everything? And most importantly, you know, comment down below. Be sure to share this video with anybody who might like the Suicide Squad or anything that we do
Mhm.
over here. And check out the channel. Definitely subscribe. We are very close to, can't even believe this, I'm about to say this. We are very close to 300 subscribers. So keep it going. You know, we are, you know, seeing some great progress. Um, yeah, that'll do it for me. I'm one of your hosts, Sean Monk.
I'm your other host, TJ Cornwell. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what you thought of the Suicide Squad, as well as the other news stories we talked about in this episode. And we will see you next time.
Boom.